Hey y'all, let's do a reading, shall we? Want to kind of pull on the energies of this planetary alignment. Isn't that cool? Happening tonight, um, through like the evening of the 21st through the 22nd, right? So let's check it out. I did already shuffle with the intention of sort of gauging the energy in this great event, and we have the Three of Swords on the bottom. So there's a lot of feeling. There's a lot of feeling in this. Okay, let's throw that up there because we don't want to see it come back for any reason. We have the Wheel of Fortune. What does that tell us? And I was going to do 3, but I think I'm going to do 5 cards. Wheel of Fortune, that's all about timing. That's all about this energy that's been ramping up that I've been talking about, where it's a bit of a Schrodinger's box. So we don't know what it is until it happens, till we open that box, till it happens. We don't know if the date is going to be a good date or a bad date. We don't know if our partner is going to come home in a good mood or a bad mood. And it's just like, it's really how we are flexible and how we deal with the situation at hand. That's the test, right? A lot of different things could happen. You could have the best day of your week or the worst day of your week, but it's how you react to it that's the important part. It's just, we have the Queen of Cups. This is a very watery queen. This queen is really something else. Between the Queen of Cups and your Three of Swords, there's a lot of energy here that is in their feels. Again, the Knight of Pentacles, slow and steady wins the race. This sort of mild, intentional movement. The Hanged Man and the Ten of Swords. These two cards are very closely tied. If this is your first tarot reading, these two cards are very closely tied. So the Hangman and the Ten of Swords bounce off each other quite a bit, because the Ten of Swords is the end of a way of thinking. It's not as drastic as you see with the swords in somebody's back. It's the end of the suit, and it's the end of a way of thinking, a way of being, a thought process, or just a way of understanding the world. So when we think about the Hangman and the new perspective that it brings, those cards can very easily bounce off each other. Planetary alignment. Oh man, what a powerful energy that is. You know, sometimes it does really take that heartbreak, that really being in our feelings, that steady process of not just healing, but really objectively seeing ourselves, our own value, and the mistakes along the way that we've made, because it's very easy to get sort of wrapped up in a situation or in a pattern of living that isn't beneficial to your life's path. But it's easy to get wrapped up into it because it happens so subtly sometimes. And I think that's sort of where the Knight of Pentacles is really shining, because it's almost like a warning, you know, like a story. The moral of the story is don't let yourself sort of ease into this pattern or habit or way of thinking or doing that took this sort of gradual sacrifice or gradual shift in perception towards something that doesn't benefit you. Does that, gosh, to me, does that resonate? If that resonates, great. I feel like I didn't do a very good job of explaining it, so we'll see where we go with the clarifiers. But yeah, sometimes we get wrapped up because things are very subtle. right? So let me try to think of an example of that. Sometimes we kind of get maybe a scarcity mindset because we're subtly influenced by things around us, by situations, by a framework that was sort of generationally inherited. So we might have grown up poor, and from that and from the words and language that our parents use, we have this sort of subconscious expectation that we will be poor forever, you know? And so that can be self-fulfilling prophecy. It can perpetuate. Anyway, be wary of those things that turn you slightly, you know, like 2 degrees. You're pointed one direction, and those things that take you half a degree away from your goal every day until you're turned around. How's that? Whew. Sometimes she doesn't let me, sometimes the universe doesn't let me get the cards for the clarifier until I explain what the hell is going on. But let's see if I explained it enough. The Wheel of Fortune. Why is the Wheel of Fortune here? I feel like for some reason I do need to draw on the 3 of Cups, and I never draw on the bottom cards. But, I mean, not the 3 of Cups, the 3 of Swords. Dang. Why is the Wheel of Fortune here? Come on. Come on. Oh. No. This is a fly out, which makes a lot of sense. So the bottom card is not even going to be for us. 8 broken cups. We talked about this in an earlier reading that I don't have online. I've been debating whether I should put it up or not because it's very relevant, but it's also kind of political. So if you want to see that reading, then let me know in the comments. Otherwise, it's just going to sit on my phone. So part of the time is right is there has been this thing, it's almost like this shift in understanding that you might have comes after you've worked really hard for something else, right? So you might have worked really hard at a job, on a degree, towards a particular profession, towards getting someone to like you. Like you might have worked really hard toward an end goal for years, months, your lifetime. And then with the 8 of Cups, what we often don't talk about in the 8 of Cups is that this change takes a lot of courage. And what the 8 of Cups shows us is someone who's taken a lot of time and a lot of investment and worked very hard to build something that they realize now won't serve them in the best way. And so they make the decision to walk away from it. So that takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of insight. It takes a perspective shift. So again, the timing is right to move away from this thing that we thought was the goal and into something different. That's great. That's amazing. To have that plastic cognitive ability is fantastic, right? Second card is the Empress. And there's a lot of bouncing around here. There's a lot of 4 of Wands energy of sort of celebration, marriage, gathering, collective, community, partnership, like minds. And then the Queen of Cups. And this is a little bit more of the lovey-dovey queen than this one, which is the emotional Queen of Cups. It's a little bit more lovey-dovey, a little bit more maternal. And then we have the Empress, right? Maybe a different way for some of you, or maybe for some of you who have this energetic attachment that I talk about, this echo consciousness. For some of you that have that energetic attachment to someone, this might be how they are affected with this planetary alignment. I mean, I can't even, like, this is my channel, so like you don't even, like, Queen of Cups, Hangman. If you've watched me at all, we get a ton of feedback loops. So it's really just confirming what's already here. And sometimes when we get double ups, especially, I need to come up with a clever word for them since they happen all the time. The Geminis. Yeah. The Gemini cards, the twin cards, the doublemint gum cards. What do I need to say? Again, leave it in the comments. If you're watching this and you want me to use a particular moniker for or phrase for the event in which I pull multiple, multiple, at least two. Anyway, I think, sometimes it does have, like, two of the Queen of Cups is wow, but with this, because of the difference between my feeling off of this Queen of Cups and what it means to me in this deck, and then what it means to me in the Rider-Waite-Smith, I think this is Traveling Curiosities, I believe, because of the difference in that, it sort of, there's this balance. Now, you get a lot of the Hanged Man, like let's say we have two Hanged Men. It's almost like the perspective is too much. Like, the shift in perspective could be a little bit overwhelming, or it could be maybe a little bit of an overcorrection when we come out with it. Anyway, okay. Queen of Cups. What's here other than a million of the Queen of Cups? Okay, that was very quick, but whatever. The Page of Cups on the bottom. We have the Eight of Pentacles. Again, it is hard work, but it's also, you're getting to the point where you can, relax and step back. The Nine of Swords. And the Seven of Wands. Yeah, I think there's a lot of emotion around the ego that you've built. So very much together. So when we go through this process where we get to these Eight of Cups, when we go through the process of building and building, we invest not only our time, our money, our effort into building what we think is our goal at the time, and that bravado of, yes, this is what I'm going to do. This is who I'm going to be. This is who I'm going to be with, whatever. It's not just that investment. It's an ego investment, right? Because you really have to sort of picture yourself as that in order to have the motivation to make the action towards it, right? Okay, you guys all know that, right? So there is a little bit of an inner battle, and I think some of the watery emotion that is coming up at this time when we're figuring out that it's time to get the courage to walk away from something that we had thought would be our future, that there is some emotion around the change and the death of the ego. Now, we haven't gotten a Tower yet. We haven't gotten a Death card yet, but this Nine of Swords is close enough for me. And definitely the Seven of Wands speaks to that. The sort of passionate fight you must have for the ability to be flexible and the ability to be kinetic and make changes as you see fit. If this is resonating with you, you will probably anticipate some type of feedback from family, friends, partner, children, perhaps. But you're going to get feedback about this change that you've had and your willingness to walk away from something that you've built and invested time in. You've got to fight for it. And it might be hard, and it might cause you to have some sleepless nights, and you might get really emotional about it. That's okay. That's okay. In the end, what matters is your growth and your development. who you're happy to be with, what you're happy doing. That's how many times have I said this is such a short time that we have. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Okay, the Knight of Pentacles. Why is it here other than what I already said? Okay. Lovers is on the bottom. I would laugh, but it's not like I didn't just say that was the energy. I just literally said that's the energy. We just don't have the card yet. We have an echo here regarding the Three of Swords, right? See what our third card is. This should be fun. Yeah, and we have the King of Cups. Again, lots of emotion. And this King of Cups is kind of at a tipping point. You put him, the Knight of Pentacles is very predictable, entrepreneurish. That's not a word, but I get it. Entrepreneurial, and has a presence and a determination in their adventurousness, right? But they're still not the King of Pentacles, right? But the Nine of Pentacles is slow going, steady wins the race, right? And we have the Tower, this little ego death we've been talking about moving away from things that you had planned, about changing your mind and having to realign your ego, which is important. I'm not saying that ego's bad. Realign your ego with your new self-identity, right? And then we have the Three of Swords, bouncing here and here. And then what is in control of all that? The King of Cups, who is borderline. So the King of Cups has mastered almost a meditative expression of emotion, of love. King of Cups is incredibly kind, is a steward of their resources, is very compassionate and generous. However, he can get a little too into his feels. And so he's right at that precipice. And some of you might feel right at a precipice of crying, like all the time, either for the last week, couple of days, or into the next few days. Completely understandable. There's this shift, and you don't know exactly where it's going to take you. And also, we have to stop and slow down and think about the grief that we really need to go through for this sense of identity that we're leaving behind. Give yourself a little bit of grace with that as well, because we don't just uproot and say, hey, I'm going to replant myself somewhere else. We're not built like that neurologically. We really need to grieve and think about where we came from. If you have an emotional vocabulary, you're going to grieve if you leave something behind, period, even if it seems like you need to go. All right. Oh, man. The Hanged Man. Why is it here? This is a super powerful reading, y'all. I have a feeling that for some of you, this is definitely a cross-watching activity. For some of you, if this is resonating with you as a potential experience that your person is in for or is having or might have, your instincts, your intuition is right. So this is my regular viewers, but it's your people. It's your people. So I think it's great to have a little insight into that, and then you have real compassion. Because if, for example, one of them approaches you, your person approaches you and says that they're going through this, or not even, they won't tell you. What am I talking about? Right? Nobody does that. Let's say that they come forward to you and they're upset or they're crying. They throw something, or they want to be by themselves, and the hanged man sometimes does. Have compassion for them and know that maybe this is what's happening, and the timing is right. Remember that. And if you can get them to talk about it, or even about their feelings, just explain, well, how are you feeling? I noticed you didn't have much to say today. Are you okay? Like that. Okay, hanged man. Why is he here? Never force somebody to open up if they don't want to open up. That's the worst. Okay. We have the Page of Wands that wanted to come out earlier, by the way. Wanted to come out earlier on another hanged man. Yeah. This is more of that energy of the Eight of Cups. The Six of Swords has a very similar sort of vibe in terms of sort of like take the L preemptively and transport yourself to somewhere where there's going to be greener pastures. Like there's going to be a more beneficial life ahead. And you take all your belongings and you travel, and the waters are pretty smooth with the Six of Swords. The waters are a lot smoother than with the Eight of Cups. But you notice how many watery cards we have. Speaking of watery cards, Page of Cups, which I think was over here on the bottom, and the Knight of Wands. Yeah, so Page of Wands goes on the bottom, Knight of Wands. You've got so much of this ambition, and I think a lot of you are either you personally or your person is tied to the sort of ambitious sort of life's goal, life's purpose, career, job, school, this sort of how I'm going to identify myself in the future and what I want to do and how I want to move through the world, aka Pentacles. This Wands passion is pushing forward a lot. I mean, we're seeing it everywhere. The wands are all over this reading. But in this case, I think it is about that temperance between emotion, passion, sort of fiery existence that we have, and don't let your emotional state drown it out. Yeah, that's the real litmus test. That's the real challenge, is you don't let your ambition get drowned out by the tears, by the water, you got to have those feelings, obviously, but stay motivated. Anyway, 10 of Swords. Bottom card is the Hierophant. We also have the Knight of Swords. We also have the Emperor. And we have the High Priestess. Yeah. I was like, the Hierophant, that's not quite right, because what I'm sensing is a spirituality. And then the High Priestess. So this is very, very good and interesting, and I like it. So in terms of all those things. So in terms of planetary alignment, this sort of cool energy that exists within this next little window of time that's already happened, that is happening now, that happened in the future. It's really phenomenal. And I think if your person, whoever this is for, was on this sort of precipice of, man, what they've been doing is the way that they've been thinking, not necessarily what they've been doing. Sometimes their actions have come through in the way that they're thinking, but their way of thinking has not been helping them. And I don't know if it's you or if it's them or everybody, but they've seen themselves. This is really an audit time. They're like, where am I compared to where I was 4 or 5 years ago? Am I in the same spot? Some of us 6 years ago, 4 or 6 years. Am I in the same spot? Have I progressed? Do I have accolades that don't mean anything to me personally? Have I worked for things that matter? That's the question. Have I worked for things that matter? And where am I? Am I on a trajectory? Have I gone the other way? Have I decreased my status, my passion, my purpose? Am I in a rut? Like, there's so many questions of audit going through their minds, but in the end, what they're realizing is, number one, that they've lacked a spiritual aspect to their goals and to their life's purpose. That could be you, that could be them. Number one, boom, I haven't had a spiritual reason to do this. That can be everything, right? That can push somebody forward, right? And this way of thinking that they've had that's sort of either ground them down or has kept them in one place or has maybe elevated them, but then they realize that it's empty and it's vapid, and that if they've achieved things in the last 4 to 6 years, they don't really matter, right? So they have this new idea. And this new idea, this is the only thing, is this new idea, when, sometimes as humans, like, we look to replace things, and the universe does that too, right? It fills voids and vacuums with things. And so we have to be really careful, like in substance misuse, when we remove an activity or behavior that we're used to doing on a regular basis, we need to replace it with something else, right? It just makes it easier if we fill that void ourselves versus let the addict part of our brain fill it, right? The reason that I bring that up is because there might be the only real risk with this scenario is that we don't take the lessons of the past. We don't spend enough time, this Knight of Pentacles, we don't spend enough time with our Ten of Swords. We don't spend enough time doing that audit and allowing things to shift. And we just have this new idea. And this is the problem, is that yes, things need to change. Yes, we need a change of perspective in the Hanged Man. Yes, we need to have this end of a way of believing and thinking and the shift to a spiritual existence. Yes. But just like replacing that addictive behavior with a new habit, we have to be very careful how we do it, because sometimes we can get a little too crazy about the new thing that we put into our life and almost use it with the same force and with the same perspective that we did the old thing. So we're not necessarily doing things different. We're just doing it with a different thing, right? Does that make sense? So I think the real risk here is that you miss the opportunity to make this something very solid, very intentional, very solid. I'm like thinking like concrete is in my head. Concrete, make it concrete. Mix it up. And what do you have to do with concrete before you can step on it? Let it harden. And I think that's the risk here, is if you pour these new ideas out and you don't wait for them to harden and then you step in it. I know that's a very strange metaphor, but for some reason it works. I hope it works with you. We just got to wait. We got to wait for it to cure, and then we can use the stepping stones that we made with this concrete to get to our next destination. But I mean, this person's ready to pour the concrete. So it's a matter of slowing down, letting it harden, letting it manifest, letting it materialize, and then going forward. But the emperor is very much like, I got this. I got this. Like, this thing I was doing in the past, it's dead to me now, and I'm just moving on with my life. You can kind of see him. I'm just going to move on with my life. I have this other thing, this other idea that I'm going to go forward to, so I'm just going to do it. It's just transference, right? It's just 100% transference, and he's not a new person, right? So this is my objective. This is my homework for y'all. If this is you, if this resonates with you, for your person, you can't do anything about it other than provide counsel and listen to them and ask them how their day is going and say, hey, maybe you want to. You seem different. That's amazing. How do you feel? Do you feel different? Do you feel like you've got this new perspective? And I think when they feel like a different person and they slow down and they have a respect and a reverence for where they're going, that's how you'll know they're ready. Same with you. Like if you're beep boppity, I'm ready to go to this new thing. Okay, I know it. I'm going for it. I've left the 8 broken cups behind and I'm doing this new thing and it's spiritual and it's great. You're just replacing one thing with the other. You're just transferring and you haven't changed. The point of this sort of energy, the Hanged Man, and all of the changes that are happening now is that you need to be, or this person needs to be different, changed in some way. We've got the Tower here. But some people stay in the Tower and they get comfortable there, which is weird, but they do. And get out of the Tower, move ahead, change, evolve, that little ego death, be reborn, that kind of deal, Okay, I hope I explained that well enough. Anyway, remember that all the tarot readings since the beginning of time have been influenced by the reader and the time in which they're pulled, and no reading comes out of a vacuum. So if this resonates, it resonates. I hope it does, because this is a really powerful, really amazing reading. And this time of, new beginnings, but not new, like like you're coming with experience, knowledge, and a spiritual purpose. Right? Those are powerful people. You need those people around. We need those people around. We need you to have this shift in perspective and move forward towards your purpose. We all need it. So, good luck.